as a geography optional teacher and somebody who has been teaching essays for as long as almost 10, 12 years, I look forward to this time of the year when the pre-results are out, and I'm excited to groom the students and help you and support you for the main examination. So I think this next 2 odd months is going to be exciting for all of us. So all of you, very nice, you have qualified for the main examination. Unit wasn't easy, and those who haven't, I think I've talked to you already. You can start preparing in a different way. But this video is for those who have qualified for the main examination. So I'll discuss how do you prepare and plan for the geography optional. Now, 2 areas of geography have been a major concern, and this time I'm sure we'll be able to manage that better. One is geomorphology, the very big chunk of the syllabus, and the second is geographical thought. Last year, almost half of the paper 1 was around geographical thought, and that's understandable because they're increasingly probing you into the hardcore concepts of geography. They're probing you into some concepts which only if you've studied geography with all commitment and with all sincerity will you know it. So it's understandable. They're probing you there, and they can continue to do that. And the same thing about geomorphology. The sections like slope analysis, landform development models, applied geomorphology, areas related to landforms and cycles of landforms. So that's pretty exhaustive. But if I break up in geomorphology, I think they already have asked periglacial cycles, they have asked arid cycle, they have discussed LC King, so kind of savanna cycle also taken care of. So marine cycle could be an important one. Karst cycle also they have asked in an indirect way, asking about the conditions for karst topography. So spend some time on the marine cycle and look up the landforms of geomorphology. So basically this work is about maybe 1 or 2 hours where you flip through the chapters of fluvial landforms, coastal landforms, arid desert landforms, periglacial landforms, glacial landforms, and most of the landforms I'm sure you know. It could be a matter of maybe 3-4 landforms per chapter. Say in the discussions of glacial landforms, you might know a bit more on what are cirques, how are cirques formed, and the landforms like Tarn Lake and Paternoster lakes. Spend some time on periglacial landscape and know those typical landforms like what are Pingo lakes, what are patterned grounds, okay, what do we mean by frost heaving. Similarly, if you open up the chapter of marine landforms, maybe a bit on what are deltas, how are deltas formed, what are the structures of delta, and maybe features like beaches, types of beaches, parts of beaches. So if you look at these chapters have 3-4 tricky landforms. Otherwise, the regular valleys, the regular depositional features, you know about moraines, you know about hanging valleys, you know about pedestal rocks. So forget all those easy ones, just glance through. But those 2, 3, 4 landforms, which are tricky one as a part of the typical landscape of these regions, have a look at that. In the CCMP program, I have done a pretty thorough work for channel morphology. So those who have been part of the CCMP program, revise all of that. I have put up the videos also on the YouTube, so some of you can look that up. So not much I can say right now, except that you must look those up. And questions like what are channel patterns, what is sinusity index, how is the hydraulic geometry related to properties of the channel and the sediments and the features of the bedrock. What do you mean by the concept of grade, the profile of equilibrium? So something on those lines. Okay, so channel morphology I have covered in CCMP. See if you can also look up those. Maybe ask your friends, those who have the notes. The next is applied geomorphology. I think in applied geomorphology, you should know a bit more on disaster management aspects. That's understandable. Earthquakes, landslides, the problems of Kerala floods, the problems related to sea level rise, and how do you manage the coastal landscape there. So linked to disasters, Because if you look at the question paper, repeatedly they've been asking about the geological aspects of Himalayas and the issues related to disasters there. So I think disaster-based applied geomorphology can be important. Apart from that, of course, geomorphology related to the flow systems and water aspects, that could also be important. So that's one critical area which will require probably 4, 5, 6 days to cover, like if you have not done the CCMP program. Otherwise, it should be over in 2 odd days. Revise the videos, revise your answers I've shared with you. That should be taken care of. The next big area that troubles people is geographical thought. Again, understandable, it's a bit tricky, a lot of philosophy, abstractness. But I'm sure in all these years, UPSC has been focusing on thought. So you kind of know the basic concepts. You know what is areal differentiation. You know what is regional concept. You know what is the concept of QR, the systems analysis. What is behavioral geography? What is radical geography? What is humanistic school of thought? So I think these broad terms you definitely know. Now the challenge is that for the last 2-3 years, they are getting into probing the concepts related to these concepts, but maybe a bit more advanced. Like for example, in behavioral geography, they have gone towards mental maps and they start going towards the time-space concepts of Hagerstrand and others. So time-space geography is a bit more applied, detailed aspects of behavioral geography. Similarly, if you look at the discussions of welfare geography, they've got into discussing the welfare school a bit more detailed. Under the radical approach or radical school, they've asked 2-3 questions around the Marxist thinking and around the contributions of Marxist ideology in the geographical thought. So what they're doing now is they're taking the questions a step ahead. Now I've sat down and listed down some aspects. You will have to probably focus a bit more on the later chapters of Dikshit. There are 3-4 chapters to an end of the Dikshit textbook, and I think in the MSP program that will start off from 16th, I'll focus on those couple of chapters, so you'll have a fair good idea. In fact, I intend to put up certain general videos for geographical thought also. It should help some of you quickly revise those concepts of geographical thought. So I don't think it's something that you should spend sleepless nights over. Yes, it does require a bit of efforts, but if you have done the basic reading, the basic notes are there, revise the notes. If you put it another 2 odd days, I think geographical thought is very much manageable. Apart from this, a very big chunk of geography, in particular the paper 2 geography, is lot around applied aspects which are very contemporary. Okay, applied aspects of water management, applied aspects of agriculture issues, applied aspects related to transportation. They've asked questions on multimodal transport concepts. They've asked something on borders and frontiers and issues of border management. So there are a lot of applied aspects. So if you can quickly list down and link the concepts from GS. So in the GS, you do have a lot of current affairs based questions. So if you can link up something from GS into geography, that should help more. So I think agriculture is very, very important because the government has talked about the doubling of income issues, talked about policies where we are going to give some amount of pension support and income support to farmers. We are looking at addressing issues of organic farming, based agriculture expansion, urban farms, peri-urban farming agriculture, so agriculture disparities. So these are some important areas. The another area which I think is important is urbanization. Urbanization settlement. Why? Because a lot of thrust. The last couple of years we have had the smart city concept, urban issues, talking about making the sustainable development of cities possible, transport issues we're talking about around urbanization. So the contemporary angles linked to urban aspects, including probably something on how is globalization impacting our economic systems, globalization and agriculture, globalization and urban systems, globalization and inequality, globalization related to investments, infrastructure. So that's an important area. So after geomorphology and geographical thought, I think there are a lot of GS applied based topics that you'll have to look up. Again, my intention is definitely to help you on those topics through the MSP program. Otherwise, also I'm sure you can manage that. And the last economic survey has a lot of discussions on population and demography. With India's growth rate in population now discernibly coming down, and we probably are going to hit some kind of stabilization in a couple of decades. So I think a lot of discussion around fertility aspects, aging population is concerned. So we're talking about some kind of program related to using the present population structure, at same time anticipate the future and work on skilling and the rest. So population area is going to be important given the thrust that we have from the economic survey. The next area that you can probably prepare on a bit more detailed could be issues of inequalities. Now this is probably the fallout of the concerns that we have around the hill area versus the plain regions. We are talking about problems related to water areas and the drought regions. Water aspects is very important. We are running short of water. We have problems in Chennai, problems in Bangalore. So urban areas, water management will be a challenge. So I think a lot of discussions around these aspects, which again are applied aspects. So water issues, and if you have recently heard Mihir Shah speak on issues of water, he has been very vociferous around discouraging and going against the traditional real politicking of the interlinking of rivers. He has been very, very vocal about that interlinking of rivers is a bad idea. So look that up too around water issues. And linked to this is the problems of disparities, problems of inequalities. Now, another big chunk I think you can be prepared for is discussions related to our Indian Ocean and the geopolitics around Indian Ocean. So if you look at our, and in fact that also includes some bit of border management, because again the thrust is to secure our territorial integrity, to secure our territorial rights. So be it Navy, be it the land frontiers, so something around that again. So geopolitical issues can again be very important for you. So if I list down quickly, I said agriculture, urbanization issues, problems related to water, problems related to inequalities of development, geopolitical aspects. So these are some of the very important areas because they're related to a lot of current developments. Now, another area that concerns geography students is the map work. You should have done your maps already. Otherwise, you can spend about an hour or two maybe twice or thrice a week. Let it not be every day. So I'm looking at around 4 hours a week maybe, or 5 hours a week, for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So by around August mid, you should have spent good around 10 to 15 hours, and that should help you. So what you do is, you have the list that I have given the class. I have listed the entries along the coast, along the borders. You know those critical entries which are along the lines. You know the important entries which are at the intersections of some reference points. And those who have not been my student, I'm sure you have done something from the classes that you have been to. So what you must do is quickly make a list. You don't necessarily have to go back too much of current affairs here. Because if you look at the map questions, I do not think current affair based question entries is what they're asking. Okay, and even if it's current affair, most of the entries are regular entries, bearing one or two of them. And those two, one or two, I don't think you can prepare for those entries at all. So don't fret over those. You make your own list, and I'll see if I can share the list with you guys also in some other format, and start practicing. Write 20, 30, 40 words around geography. Like say, what is the location aspect of the place? What is the climatic, physiographic aspects related to that entry? How is that entry related to probably rivers, okay, or linked to agriculture? Link that entry with agroclimatic conditions. Link that entry with some physiographic region or climatic region of India. And of course, something about significance. So if you remember these 4-5 rules, okay, I don't think it should be a problem. So you basically have to know where that entry is. So if I ask you the place called as Shillong, okay, apart from the fact that Shillong is the capital of Meghalaya and that it is in northeast, you must know something around geography. So Shillong, you can mention, okay, the Khasi Hills, Shillong and the Meghalaya Plateau, and Meghalaya Plateau as a part of the structural extensions, okay, of India, of the plateau, Shillong and the Umiam Lake, okay, Shillong as one of the major cities of northeastern India. It's a hill station. Talk about the climatic conditions of rainfall there, okay, how the monsoon rhythm is pretty good and becomes one of the rainier regions because of the path of the Bay of Bengal branch. So rather than just mentioning Shillong is a city in northeast and capital of Meghalaya, that doesn't inspire geographic knowledge. So the location in terms of physiographic region, the location in terms of climatic aspects, the location in terms of maybe important resources. So that's the practice that you need for map work. Okay, so if you put in about, like I said, a couple of hours a week, okay, with of course a list ready with you, okay, and practice marking. You can buy a couple of those Xerox sheets and start marking. So if you do this much, I think you should be on track. Now, regarding the time you can spend, I'll say try winding up geography not later than August 15th. So starting from July, okay, say 15th, tomorrow, you have just about 1 month time. And push very hard, okay, to finish off geography not later by August 15th or August 20th. Now those who have done last 1 month of study, like we have done geomorphology, climatology, oceanography, a good chunk is done. If you have done that much, it shouldn't be tough. But those who have not opened the books and not revised anything, yes, it will be a challenge. Nevertheless, I'll say, plan for August 15th because you need to get back and have a second round of revision also. It's not about reading once, it's about reading 2 or 3 times. So if you can finish off the entire study, at least one good round August 15th, with some bit of answer writing, with some bit of answer memorization, I think you stand a pretty good chance. And all of you, one last word about geography preparation is, please memorize answers. Please practice diagrams. And this is true for all optionals and even for GS preparations. Until you have memorized answers, until you have by-hearted at least 4 or 5 of the 10 questions that they can ask, it's impossible you can manage your time. Those who keep on studying, revising, not writing, practice, you are going to have a tough time because you will not have the time to complete your paper. You will not know what time it takes. The second request to all of you is, please stop running around for too many test series. I'm not saying don't write answers. I'm not saying don't practice answers. You have to do that. But don't run around test series at this stage. One, because it takes time for the teachers to get back to you and give you feedback. And I'm not very sure about who is correcting the papers. The second very big reason is you probably are still not ready for the test, okay, until you have memorized answers. And the whole act of going for a test, coming back, sitting for discussions, all of that consumes a lot of time. Okay? And that's one reason why I insisted on MSP and CCMP being as much as possible, okay, done through the online medium. So practice answers, write as many answers as possible. But don't rely on too many test series to take you through. You pace your work. Don't wait for a test to happen on a particular day and wait for the feedback. You pace up your work, and those who are sincere and at it, it will be juggle, but I'm sure you can manage it. So that was a brief on how to prepare for geography. You have any questions, please be in touch. You know my Telegram channel. You also know my email ID. Please get in touch. And you're welcome to join the MSP program, where I'll quickly help you wind up the geography and touch on the more important parts. We're starting on 16th, which is on Tuesday. On the description, I'll give you the links that you should know. I'll also share the schedule for the month of July. Again, I hope all this helps you for your main preparation. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye.